June 17th, 2024, 11:30 Eastern Time, 10:30 Central, 9:30 Mountain, and 8:30 Pacific. This is AMCC's weekly national call every non-holiday Monday. My name is Matt Bogosian, Executive Director of AMCC. You probably already know David Van Sicklen. He's our Operations Director, and we have lots and lots of regional and national ecosystem leaders on here working together to strengthen the American manufacturing cornerstone of the economy and the American project in general. There's some new folks on here, as we usually have every Monday. If you're new, we're a national nonprofit organization designated by the federal government as the nation's manufacturing community of practice. Free open source place where regional leaders from all kinds of public, private, nonprofit organizations find common cause, working together to make 21st century manufacturing the cornerstone of the American economy. So everyone knows we have two kinds of calls. One calls around presentations that we do on these Mondays for 10, 15 minutes by one of our regional leaders, or what we call BFS from federal agencies, nonprofits, and private entities. Like last week, we had Rachel McCleary, senior advisor at the Department of Treasury, on, and she explained the new round of 6 billion, that's billion of 48C tax credits that manufacturers can get in on. And then another one, which I think a lot of us were unaware of, is this unlimited per product 45X tax credit. And David can drop links into that again. And this is all in the AMCC update. But, if you're organization, can get those things out to your manufacturing networks in your regions, I think those are really good opportunities. And in general, if your organization has something important to share with regions across the country, and BFF's working to advance, our kind of North Star is evidence-based, policy and interventions to make smarter products that solve problems and strengthen communities. Let David know and me know, and we'll get you on the calendar for a future Monday. It's easy to do, right, David?
Oh yeah, just send us a
Yeah.
message.
Hey, David, this might be a good opportunity. Can you give folks a rundown on the invitations to these calls that we update that every 6 months? What's going to happen next? Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that, Matt. You may have seen it in our weekly update. If you're not getting that and would like to, please send me a message as well. But every half of the year, we like to refresh the calendar invitation for these Zoom links. So you should be receiving a new Monday call link from me at the start of next week. So this will replace your current call on the calendar, and it will run all the way through December. So let me know if you have any issues receiving it when I send it over. There'll also be more information in the update on exactly how to add it to your calendar. We have about, like 350, 400 different contacts who are interested in joining these Monday calls on a frequent basis. So there's a lot of moving parts for the update or the
Awesome.
invite update. So thanks for that.
Yeah, any questions, send those to David and myself. So this week, right, we have two flavors of calls. This week, we have no presentation, just all of us talking about what is mattering most to you. It's a round robin call of sorts, where you're invited to chime in from your part of the ecosystem on best practices you're seeing or doing, and what other regional leaders might use, or if you're a BFF, from a private entity or a federal agency, or some kind of a nonprofit or whatever, and you think regional leaders and manufacturers can use some information about events or reports or anything about better interventions that are going to lead us to more sustainable development outcomes, bring it on. Please let's raise these issues and talk about it. Like David said, put your name and affiliation in chat. Share info in the chat is a great easy tactic every week. We're rebuilding this nation from the bottom up toward more sustainable development, but we got to share. We all got to do a little bit more to get out of our silo. AMCC's 30-minute call, this weekly thing we do right here, is one simple forum to do that, to drive collective impact. On these round robin days, just like the presentation days, I've been in the habit of taking a few minutes on the top to hit a few points on the AMCC update. And I'm prepared to do that a little bit, but I'm going to hold back because we experiment here also, and we've gotten some feedback from Mighty Matt Fieldman from America Works. If you don't know Matt Fieldman, who helps MEPs nationwide on workforce, he also serves on our advisory board. He thought, hey, let's forego kind of the summary of the AMCC update. If you don't get it, email David or text him or just call it out in the chat, and David will make sure you get on the AMCC update. So let's just throw it open. To Linda, it's great to see you. What is happening in Utah? How do you think we can what do you see as the hottest issues right now from your perspective as a regional leader? Yeah.
Well, this is the federal grant open season, I guess is the best you could say. We have been heads down with, I think I've put in 7 proposals in the last 2 weeks, finishing the last one this week, which is the CORE-CM, Carbon Ore Rare Earth Critical Materials Grant. That is Department of Energy for coal and obviously critical materials. That one's due on the 20th, on Thursday. And then we're eagerly awaiting the Small Business Administration grant for the program called the Regional Innovation Cluster Program, which should be out any minute. So that's what's keeping me head down, is just getting all these proposals submitted. They were just rapid fire in the last 2 or 3 weeks. But I had a really exciting experience last week, and I'd like to sign on one time with AMCC and really go through this. But I went to the Department of Energy's grant recap session in Pittsburgh earlier this year. And in there, they rolled out this community benefit activity. It's really a game, but they don't want to call it a game. They want to call it an activity, which is fine. And it was designed for a hydrogen plant, putting a hydrogen plant in a community to help the community understand the impacts. So we adapted it to critical materials, and now we're using it under our EDA Tech Hub strategy development grant, and we rolled it out in Blanding, Utah, which is the Four Corners. It's down the farthest southeast corner. 65% of San Juan County is Navajo Nation, and that's where we have our lithium mine, and we have some uranium, and there's a lot of talk, I think from our first CORE-CM, we found out that there are, of the 50 critical materials that have been identified by Department of Energy, 40 of them are in Utah. So we're using this tool. Anyway, it was so great. One of the commissioner who was helping us facilitate said, for the first time, it wasn't just talk. We were really able to have specific ideas for activities for the community benefit plan. So that's what on my mind. Sorry, it's a little rambly, but
no, it's awesome, Talinda. Thank you.
Like play the game with everybody at some future AMCC call.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful idea. As a lot of folks know, and we have DOE BFFs here, the community benefits plan, that's tethered to a lot of these federal government interventions. And I think states are going to be adopting that, and it really gets at this whole sustainable development framework, right? Yeah. That we've got, it's like, yeah, we're advancing economic good jobs and all of that for sure, but it also includes DEIA, it also includes environmental sustainability, and it also includes national security. So
what's so cool about this activity is, as I said, it's a game board, and there are playing cards, and at each card you have an activity that a developer, or in this case, our grant could offer. And then the group decides, is that important? Is it not important? How important is it? Everybody has chips. And it turns out with this particular group, the most important thing, they would give up wages if they were offered subsidized transportation and childcare. That like trumped everything. They don't care about environmental impacts. They don't care. That's the big thing for this community in Blanding, is getting to work and taking care of their kids. It was so cool because each card has a specific thing. Could be putting up a scholarship fund. It could be subsidizing energy costs. So anyway, we'll do it for real in the future, but it was so amazing.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that info from Utah and Pittsburgh, and that's the thing, cross-pollinating across the regions, right? We're not in this race to the bottom. That was so 20th century. We are doing a race to the top, bottom up. As Phil Singerman, one of our AMCC advisors, and a lot of people know Phil. We were just having an exchange over the weekend about, as the regions go, so goes the nation, right? And so this is a perfect example. A quick call out to a few David's pinging me with some of the new folks that are on our AMCC call. Lisa Brackett from MXD on the education side, program manager. Good to see you. Some of our new friends in Texas. We're looking at a roadshow in Texas. We got Charles Garber and Luis Valdez from the city of El Paso. Welcome. A lot of our friends from Illinois and the Bureau of Economic Development there, and Department of Community and Economic Opportunity. Welcome. These roadshows are very useful for that in-person interaction. It was got to be a piece of getting out of our silo, right? So this call and the AMCC update and other things that are out there are super important, but that never replaces the importance. AMCC has these roadshows that we do occasionally, and it's really great to engage directly. We've met a lot of you on those roadshows. And super important. Let's
Hey, Matt,
see.
We've got a question from Robert Allen Baker in Virginia.
Please, in Virginia, a place where we did a roadshow in Southern Virginia and shipbuilding. Alan, welcome.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Matt, and everybody else on the call. I just wanted to drop a note in here. Last Friday morning, NVIA's manufacturing division launched a major new initiative I think a number of us are going to be interested in. And this is a working group that's focused on defense digital manufacturing and digital engineering. Dr. Mike McGrath is leading this effort. I think a lot of us on this call know Dr. McGrath from previous interactions in the advanced manufacturing area in the defense world. And I'll put my information in the chat, and I'll put his information, his contact information in there as well. There were about 35 participants. A very ambitious agenda was laid out by Dr. McGrath. Of the 31 participants, all of the major defense primes, the Lockheeds, the Boeings, the Siemens of this world, they all were represented by people who were their directors of digital manufacturing and digital engineering, which I guess we all know here is an emerging field that we definitely need to be engaged with, and a lot of us already are. Now, in that call, the majority of the people were either from federal agencies in the defense side or from industry. There were virtually no other defense manufacturing communities that I recognize. And I was looking in the list of participants for folks that I see in the list of participants typically on this call, and I don't think I saw anybody. And so I'll forward the information going ahead. This is a major opportunity, I think, for us to have input and to learn from people who are on the leading edge of the field in terms of policy development and policy formation. So that's—
Thank you, Alan. And yeah, I know you're interested in DoD apprenticeships down there as well. So Alan's got a lot of good things going on in Southern Virginia, but like everyone, we all need help, right? So thanks for putting that into the chat, which is a nice segue. There's a question that came in the chat from our friends in Alabama, Joe Paxton. Great to see you. About this national resiliency plan out there. It's in the AMCC update. But you know, this is like totally relevant right now. We have this big heat wave. I was just talking to Buckley up front, but Carmen and Connecticut and New England, this next week, it's going to hit us big time, right? And I was just learning about the National Weather Service. So David's dropped the National Resiliency Plan, which includes like how do we respond to increased climate, change and heat waves and stuff like that. So Joe, I hope that gets at what you're talking about. But please, after I'm done with my little new addition here, please jump in here, Joe. The new addition is this thing that's come out from the National Weather Service and the CDC around a new kind of a heat monitor scale, and it takes into account, how heat is different. Like there's dry heat and humidity heat, and so the heat in and of itself doesn't really reflect the risk that you get with multiple days of heat, depending on the time of year and also, the humidity or whatever. So they've come up with this new heat risk index with the CDC, so the National Weather Service and the CDC. So I wanted to make sure, because it's tethered to this National Resilience Plan, right? We need to be resilient. And manufacturing, Alan, you're talking we visited in Southern Virginia a lot of the welding that is going on there. You took us to one of those welding shops. We can't have successful manufacturing in this country if we can't be prepared for extreme heat conditions and respond accordingly and to keep our manufacturing operations going. So anyway, I wanted to introduce that heat risk new scale that is being out there. And thanks, David, for dropping that in there. Joe, was there down in Alabama where we did a road show? It was great to see you on. Is there anything you wanted to talk about specifically on the National Resilience Plan?
Hey, Matt, thank you. Nothing specific. We've done some work in the past on resiliency and sustainability model development and using that with manufacturers in the state here in Alabama. And I saw that in your email this week and just didn't know what the purpose of that particular guide was or how it was intended.
Yeah, it's under development. So they put out a request for information, that is FEMA put out a request for information on behalf of all of the federal agencies. This is my understanding. And we did a quick response because by the time we found out about it, we had like a week left or whatever. We did a quick response on behalf of all of us here to say, hey, look, this is a good thing. And the draft plan for the federal agencies to all look at resiliency as a component part of them executing on their mission. I wanted to make sure that resiliency plan spoke to manufacturing and the ecosystem of support around manufacturing specifically, within whatever they come up with ultimately. So David and I had a call this week with one of the key staffers within the Economic Development Administration that works closely with FEMA. So we're learning right along with you, but I wanted to share that information. It's important that, because that's a component part of sustainable development that we're trying. It's like we're trying to find good jobs in manufacturing, with all those, all of those key industries, not just now, but for the long term, right? It's about for us now, but also for future generations, because we know that making smarter products that lift communities and Americans for the long term is essential. So it's now and the future, right? And so this resiliency guide is something that needs to be crosswalked with our other work. Mike Aller in Florida, good to see you, sir. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks very much, Matt, and thanks for the opportunity. Just wanted to highlight something that's happened a week before last, which was all of the national manufacturing extension partnership centers across the country got together to celebrate the first year of the Supply Chain Optimization and Intelligence Network Initiative, which is something which is funded out of the CHIPS Act an initiative called the MEP Expansion Award Pilot Program. But there are now supply chain resident experts in all 50 states related to linked to the MEP Manufacturing Strategic Partnership Centers in all 50 states in Puerto Rico. And we have been tasked with trying to help identify and engage local manufacturers in Build America, Buy America resources in a resource called MEP Supplier Scouting. So if you have companies or institutions which are looking to source locally, looking to source domestically, especially as we have more and more Buy America requirements coming through, it is a resource for everyone, and be happy to follow up with links and more information about that. But just wanted to highlight that happened. It was a great set of discussions, and looking forward to even more good things to come.
Thank you so much, Mike. Appreciate that info. And everyone knows about the MEP system, but not everybody. And so it's important to have a steady diet. This is from our National Institutes of Standards and Technology, a long-serving process. Mike is one of the leads in Florida for the MEP down there, but like he said, they're in every state and Puerto Rico. And they help with a lot of kind of direct help to manufacturers, but increasingly taking a leading role in the ecosystem of support around manufacturing. And that's great to see that momentum. I was talking at the outset about Matt Fieldman and America Works and his work doing that across the country on workforce. So it takes a village, and Mike, thank you as always on that front. David sent me a note about Stephen out in the East Bay of the Bay Area in California is participating. Thanks. You know, we have this AMCC podcast, and we interview folks, and I'm going to call out California a little bit, because if you're tracking the podcast, we interviewed Kate Gordon, who was a right-hand advisor for Secretary Granholm at the Department of Energy. Well, she's originally from California. She's returned to California, Kate has, and she is now leading the California Forward nonprofit organization that many of you longtime AMCC people know we've been engaged with to like with many state governments to try to, you know, help the state governments take more leading role in manufacturing. Kate is now heading up California Forward, and she has close connections to the California's governor's office. And this in our AMCC roadshow in California last year, where we are trying to, you know, get the Golden State to take a more leading role. And so they've broken the state up like Mississippi has, and other states into sub-regions within their state to try to tackle kind of economic development and sustainable development and including manufacturing. So we're excited that Kate's on there, and Stephen in the East Bay, he and I and David had a recent call where we're going to maybe do another roadshow in California. We're looking also at Washington later this year, Texas. Our friends in Texas, good to have you on the call. We're hoping to visit down there and many other places. So if you want to discuss that with David and I, please feel free. We have 5 minutes left. So this is a good forum, open source roundtable for folks to share cool things that are happening. You see Michael Goff on the screen. He's at the Northeast Midwest Institute, and their NGO does a lot of important work around the country on water issues, especially around the Great Lakes. If you're not connected to the Northeast Midwest Institute, that would be a useful thing, especially if you're in the Great Lakes area.
Matt, there's a question from Tony Neary.
Oh yeah. Hi, Tony. Welcome.
Hi, how are you? So I'm with SME. I'm our Director of Community Engagement and Workforce Innovation, heavy focus on early tail and pipelines. So you talk a lot about getting to kitchen tables. We're working on some new K-8 initiatives with linking STEM education to Industry 4.0. So if anybody else is doing work in that area, I would love to connect and see what you're doing. We're looking at STEM equity for rural and urban school districts where we're currently struggling. So we'll be launching a few initiatives in the next few months. but would love to connect with anybody that's already doing work in that space right now.
Awesome, Tony. Thanks so much. And if you have anything you want to drop in the chat, so folks could connect with you directly, that might be a good move. Always great to have you on as a part of this. Let's see. We've got a few minutes left. Katie Stanton, good to see you from the Urban Manufacturing Alliance. They were part of a great meeting out there in Detroit recently that we were lucky enough to attend. Let's see here. There's new stuff coming in. Okay, great. Tony dropped that early talent pipeline STEM connection to 4.0 in the chat. So grab that. Carmen in Connecticut, are you ready for the heat that's apparently going to hit you guys in New England?
Sorry, yeah, I am. We're getting ready for this heat.
Yeah.
We got a lot going on in Connecticut. We're very busy too with proposals and dealing with our federal grant partners. So, but yeah, ready to battle the heat.
And I should say, Carmen, you in Connecticut and so many others, to Linda and others, have been always very gracious to share kind of your experience in going after these grants. Sure, there's some competitive elements. I'll get it. But it's important to kind of, it's challenging. You can't go for everything. You've got to make some judgments. And we have a lot of regional leaders on this call who can be very helpful to network with, to be able to put together better proposals, right? Because we need regional leadership much more diverse across the country. But they're also good at making judgments about what to go for and why, and and the challenges. A lot of these things are challenging, and our BFFs in the federal intervention space are doing a lot of good work, but it's a lot of us coming, a lot of information coming at regional leaders at the same time, and you've got to be judicious about what you go for, how, and why. So,
Hey, Matt,
thanks. Yeah,
I think
please.
we got final words from Leif Olson with CREC.
Oh, please bring it on, Leif.
Thanks, David and Matt. Again, I'm Leif Folson from the Center for Regional Economic Competitiveness, a nonprofit operating out of Virginia, Washington, D.C. area. I wanted to really quickly flag a new product that we've just developed that might be of interest to many of you. Recently, with the Economic Development Administration, the Center for Regional Economic Competitiveness was tasked with creating a database of statewide planning grant projects. Many of these projects had to do with manufacturing, particularly around green energy. So I think that this might be an interesting thing for you to look at. I'm going to put it in the chat, the link for it, if that's all right, Matt.
Of course, and we'll put that in the AMCC update next week, Leif. That would be
great. Yeah, I would really appreciate that. It's a new database. We are still looking for feedback. So, if you notice something about your state that doesn't look quite right, or you're interested in it, you want to ask some questions, just reach out to us. So thank you both. I appreciate it.
Yeah, as always, Leif, great to have CREC, you and CREC as a partner. We did the Manufacturing Momentum Summit in concert with CREC and DoD Mantech. One of the things as on the way out is I want everybody to be thinking, we want to have a Manufacturing Momentum Summit too, and have it be every year, have it be interagency. We've been talking with EDA and Ken Poole at CREC and others. We need DoD, DOE, EDA, NSF, NIST, MEP, all of these folks on the same page. Everyone has equity. We need the NGA, National Governors Association. We have a relationship with them. We want to bring this together every year. We don't really have the capacity to do it on our own. We're going to have to team up to make that happen. Talked with Nathan Oley about that just this last week at IEDC, the International Economic Development group, and it's going to take a village to do it. We need to do it consistently. So we're going to revisit this in the AMCC update, and so thanks, Leif. And Leif, if you want to maybe talk about doing a Monday presentation around that thing that you want feedback on on a future Monday, we can use that too. So anyway,
absolutely.
Yeah, so thanks all. We're a minute over. Apologies. We really respect your time and participation. And please network through AMCC and elsewhere separately or whatever. Have a great week. Please stay cool, and we'll see you next Monday.